Hello everyone and welcome to my June 2026 newsletter, the first one in about a year, I guess. So a very warm welcome back and an explanation. I've been out of the loop for quite a while now, which is why my newsletter has had a bit of a hiatus over the past year. And the reason is that I've been dealing with a lot in my personal life, grappling with the kind of things that have tested me literally to the limit of my ability to cope, either physically or emotionally. There's been a lot going on. There were 2 terminal illness diagnoses of people who mattered a great deal to me. One was a close friend who I cherished. The other was my father, and his death brought with it the kind of complications that nobody should have to deal with. Both men died within a couple of days of one another, both from prostate cancer, and that came on the back of me already having had a very difficult time with other things that had severely impacted me. And then my lovely husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer too, and we've had to deal with that. Thankfully for him, the outcome is positive, but over this past year, there were times when I felt that the people in my world who meant so much to me were dropping like 9 pins, and not just through death. It also included some who chose to remain distant when I needed some solid support. I do feel that if my heart broke once, I think it broke 20 times in the last 12 months. But in a world full of artificial everything, where even people's words are now so often questioned as real or valid, I think it's okay to be vulnerable and human and honest in admitting that I didn't cope very well with a lot of what happened. I feel like I've stumbled and lurched and shouted and sobbed my way through the past 12 horrible months because with every single thing that happened, there was no real time to process it before the next thing slammed me sideways. Luckily, a few solid people in my life stepped up and caught me before I fell into the abyss, and I'm well on my way to recovering, but I now have a few resultant stress-related health issues that need to be brought under control. It's going to be a long process, and I'm working on it with some good help. But like with many people, when a lot of things happen to them that literally overwhelm them and they don't quite know how to cope, it means that some stuff has to go on the back burner. For a while, the newsletter was more than I could do. And sometimes being real and admitting that you can't cope when life throws too much at you all at once, it's the only thing you can do to allow people to connect with you. I'm hoping that whatever you might be dealing with is something you can be honest about too, and that the honesty will enable you to connect with people who care enough to really step up and support you. Don't be on your own with anything, please. I told my friends what was happening, and some of them were truly magnificent in rallying around me and pitching in when it mattered most. Others, not so much. But we all need the connections that can enable support and healing. I've been so lucky with some of mine, but it's only because I was honest about how I was feeling. I needed to be, because I literally could not have got through everything without people I knew I could rely on. And thankfully, my writing hasn't suffered all that much through this time. I'm pleased to say that I've been working on new stories, albeit a lot more slowly than before, and I have now finished the Teapot Cottage series and released the first book in a brand new series, the Travelling Heart series. I'm still very ambivalent about ending the Teapot Cottage series. The characters I created became my friends over a long time, and they actually feel more real to me than some people I've met in real life. I've met a lot of fake people. But as the series evolves, so do the characters within it, and I was starting to feel that there was more for Adi Raven than simply being the landlady of Teapot Cottage and bearing witness, however beautifully and wisely she did it, to the comings and goings of her tenants with all their ups and downs. She had evolved too over 8 years, and she was ready for something new. So, the Travelling Heart series was born. In this new series, Adi and her friend Trudy Sangster from the Glad Rags Boutique have left Hawley for a while to go on a big adventure. They're doing an interrail trip across Europe, and they're having a few very interesting experiences along the way. Characters from Tawley that we've come to know and love do make a few appearances here and there, and they remain very much alive in conversations and relived memories. The series, once again, explores themes of friendship, family, grief and loss, and rebuilding broken lives after trauma. And again, the series is aimed primarily towards older women, but with characters of all ages and both genders, the books are suitable for anyone to read. And a couple of my male reader fans have told me that they enjoy the stories and that they've actually learned quite a lot about how women think and how women feel. And they regard the stories as a place to escape to when they need some downtime. So I will take that compliment because I think that's wonderful. So I hope you will enjoy the new series. I've just released the first novel, Crisis at Canalside Cafe, which is set in Amsterdam, of course, with a name like that. And I've already made a start on book 2, which is set in Paris. I'm having fun writing this series and I have big plans for it. And like a lot of women who find journaling a comfort in times of stress, I find writing inspirational stories to be very much the same. Writing is joyful. It is a means of escape from what often feels like too harsh a world to live in all the time. Having places to escape to in my mind means I can create those escapes for my readers too, and that allows my vocation to support and encourage to really shine. Sometimes, having to leave Tawley or Amsterdam or Paris and head into the kitchen to cook dinner for myself and my lovely husband feels like I've landed in a field without a parachute to soften the landing. But the wonderful luxury of having only one foot in the real world sometimes and the other in a kinder and more gentle one is something I'm grateful for having the ability to create. I'm now running short story writing courses too for other women to create the same sort of joy for themselves. In line with that, I have rebranded to Annie Cook Story and Voice, as I now do more than just write and podcast. I mentor as well. And I recently spoke at an International Women's Day event, and that has set me on another path to do more speaking to mature women, to be more confident of their valuable place in society, and to not let anyone take it away from them. So it's an exciting time. My aim is to put the horrors and the trauma of the past year behind me and move forward with purpose and commitment. Thank you so much for being here, for reading this and the stories, and I'm really glad to be back on the radar. And so the newsletter rises again. And I'd like to properly announce the arrival of the brand new series, the Travelling Hearts series, with the first book, Crisis at Canalside Cafe. This is a novel about friendship, complicated losses, healing fractured families, and the formidable power of women to help one another find their feet again. Like I had the power of incredible women to help me find my feet again over the past 12 months. And in this book, when Adi Raven starts the European trip she's dreamed of for 40 years, she hopes for new sights, new memories, and plenty of fun. With her dear friend Trudy beside her, Amsterdam seems like the perfect place to begin. But when the two women stumble across a forlorn little cafe in a quiet corner of the city, their plans take an unexpected turn. Frida van Esserveld is lonely, overwhelmed, and mourning a lifetime of lost opportunities. As she fights to withstand the disapproval of her overly critical father, she also feels powerless to save the little business that means so much to her. Drawn to her plight and her quiet desperation, Adi and Trudy resolve to help her turn things around. But, just as their plans start taking shape, Trudy is dealt a devastating blow and she must grapple with a grief that's complicated by separation, guilt, and unresolved emotions. She insists on returning home alone, to Tawley. Abandoned in Amsterdam, Adi is forced to put her own emotions aside and refocus. But as the little cafe begins to transform, among coffee cups, canal views, and confessions, an unexpected friendship deepens and becomes far more meaningful than she ever could have imagined. I'm offering one reader an opportunity. It's the chance to have a cameo appearance in my next Travelling Heart novel. As you know, my stories usually have a lot of characters in them, people who come and go, and often leave a lasting impact. Many recur in subsequent novels after they've been introduced. Others are important to supporting a storyline, but their work is done at the end of the story, and their curtain call comes without much fanfare. Occasionally, one or two might get killed off, as happens in the real world too. If you fancy the chance to have an appearance as a character in a Travelling Heart story, please email me through my website, www.anniecookwriter.com, to throw your hat into the ring. What I would need from you is a bit of self-description. Tell me as much about yourself as you're willing to share, who you are, your age, what you do for a job, and whether you'd like to be a hero or a villain. And this is open to all, by the way, because I love to have male and female characters and develop them in ways that suit the story. So men and women are equally welcome in applying for this opportunity, and I will give you a different name, but I'll let you know what it is so you'll be able to recognize yourself in the book. And entries do have to give me real information to work with to be considered, or for me to engage with you in communication about it. So please provide enough detail as you're brave enough to give. So come on, jump in. If you're the one chosen, you'll get a free signed copy of the book when it comes out. You know, this is the most fun part of having real connections with my readers. Such wonderful nuggets emerge in conversations and in suggestions offered. Keep them coming, ladies and gentlemen. I know there are a few of you out there too, so nobody is excluded from this opportunity. Okay, well, it's June, and everyone in the Northern Hemisphere is about to start thinking about or taking their summer holidays, and I know that many in the Southern Hemisphere are contemplating going skiing sometime soon. For most of you, it's a chance to catch up on some me time and maybe do a bit of reading. And I just want to remind you that the Teapot Cottage series of novels is a great set of books to take on holiday. I promise you that the first book in the series, No Small Change, is a great beach, poolside, campsite or fireside read. The other novels that follow on from it are just as much fun, with different stories, different characters that overlap, and some of my readers tell me that picking up the next Teapot Cottage book is like coming home to a kind and friendly place where they can enjoy a bit of time with people who feel like friends. That is a pretty good compliment too, and I'll take that. So, as I've said, the first novel in the Travelling Heart series is now released, Crisis at Canalside Cafe, and it's just as engaging, I promise. Now, I'd love you to feel free to share this newsletter with your friends. If you think any of them might be interested in it, please shunt the hard copy across that I've already sent you, or you can let them find it on the YouTube channel. That's where most of my podcast stuff is. And they can email me through the website, www.anniecookwriter.com, to join the Annie Cook Writer community. So before I sign off, I'm just going to remind you of the novels so far. There are 8 in the Teapot Cottage series, and you can search online in your Amazon account or your other literary platform that you use. If you Google the titles with my name straight after them, you should be able to find them without any problems on those literary sites. The first one in the Teapot Cottage series was No Small Change, and that's where we got to know Adi Bostock as she was at the time. No Small Change. The second novel was The Power of Notes and Spells. The third novel was When It's Meant to Happen. The fourth novel was Ruin, Reigns and Redemption. And after that came The Stuff You Fail to Notice. The choice between Safe and Brave was novel 6. From Raw to Very Well Done was novel 7, with the purple spine that you would have seen in the last newsletter that I sent out last year. And that completes the rainbow on your bookshelf as the vibrational healing extra gift that I give to all readers who have bought a hard copy. You should have that beautiful rainbow. And the final book, the final in the Teapot Cottage series, was called The Sum of All Parts. It has a white cover to sit alongside your rainbow, and it's the story of Adi's 60th birthday, which coincides with the Ravensdown House annual Christmas party, where family and friends and past Teapot Cottage tenants all gather to celebrate. New and old friends joyfully reconnect, But later, a sudden, brutal accident rocks the Raven family to the core. The Sum of All Parts was the last novel in the series. It was the story of Adie's 60th birthday. And the party itself revealed a lot about characters past and present and where they all were in their lives at the end of 8 years. But after that joyous occasion, a horrific accident changed the Ravens family's lives forever. Adie herself was changed by the events that happened in the aftermath, and she emerged from it with a very different perspective on life. This story is, once again, about family, friendships, dealing with complicated loss and grief, and rebuilding after devastation. It's the book that ultimately sends Adie off in a new direction, and the new Travelling Heart series is the follow-on series from that time. However, worry not, because Teapot Cottage and Torley and all its wonderful people have not been left behind. Home and its amazing characters are still hovering about in the background, so we haven't had to say goodbye to them at all. Okay, and my final plea or groveling beg, as I usually put at the end of my newsletter. I'm going to say this one again because it is really important. It's the most important part of everything that we do as authors. So I'm saying this for myself and on behalf of every other author out there, who, particularly those of us who self-publish. To any of you who have read and enjoyed my novels, it will be so wonderful if you could write me a positive review on Amazon or other platform for any and hopefully all that you've enjoyed. Authors really need reviews. It's our lifeblood to enable recognition and promotion of sales. Star rankings help us, certainly, but it's the written reviews that bump a book up the rankings. They don't have to be massive. Just a few words would help, even something just as simple as, "I really enjoyed this book." But a detailed review helps to encourage other readers to take a punt on reading and enjoying our work. We can't grow and gain recognition for the messages we offer if nobody knows who we are and what we do and whether or not it's any good. We all need a reader's help to do that. You know, so much time, effort, work, research, and heart goes into writing a novel. It is always a huge undertaking over many months, and for some authors it runs to years of work. It did for me with two of mine, at least, that weren't in the Teapot Cottage series. A Moral Swerve and Thicker Than Water are two of my novels that I've written in a different genre, much darker genre, and they are literary fiction, where the impact of something that's happened is explored more than what happened itself. The impact on the characters becomes the focal point of those stories. So you might like to read those two, if you haven't already. A Moral Swerve and Thicker Than Water, Annie Cook. You know, the passion that we have to get things right for the reader often means extensive research and months of editing and updating and revisions, and then we can spend a long time designing covers that actually showcase the stories properly. And being recognised for all of that is just huge. It means so much to any writer to be given the validation for all of that. To me, as the creator of a world that I want so much for you to enjoy, it means everything. And don't forget to tell your friends about Torley, Teapot Cottage, and the new Travelling Heart series that's now underway. Maybe they'd enjoy the stories too. The books could be good gifts for someone who you think may enjoy one of them, at least. Okay, so that's the end of my recording for this newsletter. So thank you for being here and listening. I'm so glad you're in my orbit, and I will talk to you soon.